Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the NECA Kick-Ass, or KA, Wave 2 Battle Armored Kick-Ass figure. I found this guy recently at my local Toys R Us, and I was very surprised because I'd seen this guy in collectors' hands, I think before the new year. And then in late January, I was at a amazing collectible shop in Miami, or near Miami, called Tate's. And they had these guys out there on the shelf for like 25 bucks a piece. I was like, I'll wait for Toys R Us. I didn't think they were ever gonna show up, but just recently they've been hitting at a very, very nice $10 price point. So I knew I had to snag up this version of Kick-Ass because even though I wasn't thrilled with the film, I really liked this where he gets the Big Daddy armor and puts it on and goes and tries to kick some ass. So let's take a closer look at the figure. Just like the original Kick-Ass, he comes with his two batons, his sticks. They have the rubbery loops here on the end that hinge. But one thing that wasn't on my original is you can see these are made with the same green plastic that his costume is. And straight out of the box, it's a little worn off on bits. So you can see the bright green sticking out through the black, which I am not a fan of, but still decently sculpted. Just like with the first figure, these will store on his back. You could slide them right into the little holsters back here. And with the hinge straps, I think they look pretty good in a relaxed pose. The figure also has a couple more accessories, but we'll get into those with the sculpt. And here we have the exact same face that we had before on the original Kick-Ass NECA gave us, but it is a pretty good sculpt. I really like the realism to it. It's well painted. Very well done, actually. I like pretty much everything about this. They raised up the sections here on the suit where they actually would be in the movie. There's some nice wrinkles going on. You can actually even kind of see where his ear would be underneath the hood, which is very nice. And from the neck down, I think this is the exact same Kick-Ass figure we had before with a lot of soft rubber pieces added over top of it. And it's not a bad thing, and it kind of makes me wonder if you really could strip this guy down and have a regular Kick-Ass figure, but I'm definitely not going to do that since I do have the original. But we have the armor here, the plates coming off of his shoulders, the raised up neck, the torso armor complete with all the buckles coming across the side. You can see his green and yellow outfit very easily through all the gaps in here. More on the back, some nice wrinkling effects. Not a whole lot of color variation, but it doesn't really need it that badly. He has this bright yellow belt with KA on there, and looking at it, I can see it looks like there was some kind of embossed logo here before, and I'm really trying to make out through the KA on there if it might be a BD for Big Daddy, and he wrote his name over top of it, but I really cannot make it out. So if anybody can tell on theirs or knows what it's supposed to look like from the film, let me know, because if it did actually do that, that is a great sculpting touch. There's his armor on his arms, all wrapped on there, looking very nice. He has his black gloves, his kind of combat MMA style gloves, kind of black chaps going on here, knee pads, shin pads, kind of this metal setup going through, which looks pretty brutal on here. This is brown boots that are nice and dirty. I really appreciate that detail. And overall, like I said, he's very much the same Kick-Ass figure with just a lot of stuff stuck on top. But he does have some extra pieces to cover here in sculpt. You can pop these black gloves off, but when you pop the glove off, you have this free floating rubber piece, and this has to go and get transferred over to the new hand and then popped back into the wrist. So now we have Kick-Ass with his traditional yellow gloves on there. Same deal. The hole in the middle, you can put the stick through and have him fighting with it. Just another aspect to the figure. And then you have the biggest pain in the ass on this entire thing, the head. He comes with this head on, but he comes with an unmasked head that is incredibly hard to take on and off. First we pull this head out. It's a very tight seal there. And I notice now that one thing it is missing is the free-floating bit of kind of rumpled up fabric that the first one had. So you couldn't make exactly the first Kick-Ass out of this. You are missing that little piece at least. And then you have the other head, and nope, I'm gonna have to go heat this up and get it to stick on here. All right, and now we have the unmasked head on. I had to go and put it in hot water for about 30 seconds to pop it on, and it still didn't want to go back on. So hopefully not everyone everybody's having the same problem I am with this figure, but if they are, just be patient with it and maybe just don't change the head out all that often, because I can see this causing damage in the long run. But I really do like this unmasked head. I think it looks a lot like the actor. There's some good paint shading on there. Looks very realistic. Really, really well done. The hair is nicely done as well. Some good shading in there. The dark and light browns mixed together. You can even see the sculpted in sideburns here. I really like the head sculpt. I think it looks a lot like the actor, and NECA's sometimes hit or miss with that, and they really knocked it out of the park here. Really digging this head sculpt. For articulation, he has a ball joint at the neck, so you can go forward and back, side to side. It is a little hindered by this high collar, but nothing horrible. Pin socket shoulders, you go forward and back, out to the side. Mine sticks a little, ratchets a little on that one side. Actually, on both sides, it ratchets a little bit. So just be careful with it once again. We can bend and rotate at the elbow, can rotate and hinge at the wrist. A mid-torso ball joint, which mostly just does side to side because forward and back centered by the armor. We have this kind of old school style leg joint where we'll go forward and back. It's stretching a little bit here because of the chaps on there. We'll also go out to the side, and that kind of kicks the hip up a little bit, but it works okay with this. No swivel at the thigh, which I was kind of surprised about. We do have a nice double jointed knee. I love the double jointed knees on these Kick-Ass figures, or at least specifically Kick-Ass himself, not the other characters. You can also rotate at that knee. And then we have a ball jointed foot that really is very hindered because of this armor as well. And here we have our new Kick-Ass next to his original, more classic costume version. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this figure a recommend. I like it a pretty good amount, especially for the price point it's at. It's not a perfect figure. The issue with the head is my biggest complaint, and it drives me crazy because I'd love to be able to swap this head back and forth easily, and it's just something I can't do with this figure. But I really do dig the overall package. I think it's very well painted and very well sculpted, and that's about all you can ask for. Doesn't really need any other accessories in my mind, doesn't need any real additional articulation, and you really couldn't do it without breaking up the sculpt on here. So definitely a recommend. And I think the two of these make a nice set. I am going to probably display this armor with the unmasked head and probably put the black gloves back on him and just leave him like that, put his weapons in his holster, and have the original Kick-Ass being my ready for battle Kick-Ass, and this one kind of being the, I don't know, more Dark Knight brooding Kick-Ass, I guess. But as I said earlier, these are finally hitting Toys R Us's for a pretty low price. I don't know if I'm going to pick up any of the rest of Wave 2. Colonel Stars and Stripes, I just don't really feel the need to get him outside of the fact that he comes with a cool dog accessory. And Hit Girl, I wasn't really too enamored with the original Hit Girl release, which is why I never reviewed her. And this one doesn't really add a whole lot to it outside of two different head sculpts instead of what we got on the original release. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also hit me up on Facebook, link below. And until next time, it's been another Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.